Cammy, 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 wake up. Cammy,
What? What?
we're we're
What?
we're gonna do the podcast.
Where'd he go?
Who? We're
There was a really, really handsome man in a red serge. He was
really? I think you were dreaming.
uh
Are you feeling okay?
I have my thermometer right here. Uh well it's says
Oh,
104.
oh, yikes. Oh my gosh.
I I I
You might
have
need
a
some
fever.
you might need some cough syrup.
No, 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 no. I
Oh no.
I'll be fine with a fan. But
Okay.
oh, oh, whew.
Oh goodness.
I have two words for this episode. Chastely hot.
Why did I know you were going to say that?
That's my new catchphrase. If I had the superpower of literally melting into a puddle, we would probably still be mopping the floor in my house.
That's fair, probably at a lot of Hearties houses.
Mm, okay. Whew.
So, my gosh, what are we going to talk about today on Hearties Hotline?
All right. Hi guys. I'm Hawkeyed Hearty. Oh, no. No, wait. I'm 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 hooked Hardy. That's right.
You
Right.
are the hooked Hearty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we're gonna go fishing. Hooked
That
Hardy.
was
Yeah.
yes, that was part of it.
Wait.
Yes.
Uh
Well, welcome Hearties to the Hearties Hotline. I am Sarah, the hawk-eyed Hearty, and my co-host, Cammy, is
it's
the hooked
Donnie.
Hearty. Whatever she remembers after this fever dream of hers.
Season 12, episode 6, when autumn leaves begin to fall. Somehow I don't know that that's the best title for this episode.
It didn't reveal what we were
Well,
needing to prepare.
weather changes, that's when people get sick. So I guess that
Sure.
kind of
There's a
fits.
there's a tie.
Sarah, question for the day for you.
Oh, uh-huh.
Uh, which of these incredible dreams was your favorite? And just so everybody knows that I'm not going to be talking like a drunk the entire time, I'm done.
There's definitely pieces from each one that
Of
I
course.
that I loved. I loved being surprised by the first one because you didn't, I mean, even though you knew dreams were coming, you didn't really know the first one was a dream right away.
Right.
Um, although I was in my head just like, why are there so many flowers? Why? This is very weird. But so that was my favorite aspect of that first one, was just not really fully knowing and having that surprise factor.
Uh,
But and I also loved the last one being like, oh, it's somebody different dreaming. That's like a really cool, exciting surprise.
yeah, it was a twist.
Yeah, but I mean, to go with the wood chopping. A favorite anything has got to include wood chopping.
Woo! And that man knows how to chop a log.
And the hair flip, the wet hair flip wasn't half bad either.
Let's not forget the Superman curl. I mean, hey, a long time ago when I was comparing Nathan in Brookfield to Nathan in
Yeah.
Hope Valley on my
Mhm.
blog, he was mild-mannered Mountie versus Captain Constable. So it's only fitting that he has the Superman curl, because he definitely was her superhero in that moment.
What was your favorite dream, Cammy?
Is that even a question? It's the wood chopping. It is the wood chopping. I mean, I swear Aaron gave that to Joy Gregory, the writer, because
We haven't done wood chopping for a while. I feel like it's due.
it's time. It's time. And the last time Nathan was chopping wood on this show, Elizabeth was not around to see it. So this is going to be the first wood chopping job since they've been a couple.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
definitely different.
Yes. A completely different vibe than the last time. Which, speaking of couples, happy Valentine's Day, everybody! Got all of our heart and red gear on. But yeah, that was something that I loved watching in this episode was the love in all its forms.
Mm-hmm.
The love in all its forms. The corny, way over the top, this is what's going on in my subconscious love. Hashtag chastely hot. Whew, catching my breath. And the equally romantic, but much quieter caring and caring for. That was just as beautiful. It was
Yes.
just different.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I loved most of all about this episode was we saw different kinds of love and different views of both people. And what can I say? I'm a sucker for a man who's going to go and cook chicken noodle soup from scratch in his girlfriend's kitchen and he's totally at home there. He just, yeah, okay, get chicken noodle soup coming right up. And he knows his way around her home and he feels totally comfortable cooking there. And, and then I like you healthy, although I'm enjoying this. All right, all right. So we're there. We might as well.
Pretty much only reason people are watching this anyway is to hear about this. So
And there were some very cute moments between Allie and Oliver, but let's face it,
the whole show was amazing as usual. And this is definitely the highlight.
I'm going to say it again. Chastely hot.
For those of you at home, you can start playing a great game where you count how many times Cammy says that in this episode. I do not recommend it to be a drinking game. It will
no,
it would not,
no,
would not
Bad
go
idea.
well for anyone.
Just don't give me any of that cough syrup.
Oh my goodness. Woo.
Okay.
That cough syrup was the culprit for sure.
Yeah.
That was not just feverish. You don't get that loopy just being feverish. That was beyond.
No. Oh
that
no.
was beyond.
No.
I love how he's like, how many of those did you have?
Two.
Two.
Okay. No, that was absolutely the culprit. And I can also stand as a witness because when I was 7 years old, I had to get surgery on my left ankle. I was pigeon-toed and I had to straighten it out. Very young child having big surgery. And this was in the 90s, so the medication wasn't as advanced as it is now. And so they were giving me really, really strong and disgusting medication to help me deal with the pain. The first night, thank heavens my mother was in the room with me, I had the weirdest, grody, graphic dream for a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I call to my mom and said, Mom, I had a bad dream. And she had to hurry and grab a bucket and everything. That medication made me so sick, and they had to change my medication. So I can stand as a witness that the wrong medication can give you very weird dreams.
I was just gonna say that Bill's character had a bit too much cough syrup a few years back. So the show really seems to be playing into that.
Don't tell him I am in jail. Okay, dream number one. The one
Yes.
that we didn't totally see coming, but we started wondering why all the flowers, and then we started hearing the tinkling, and then the camera got fuzzy. And do you find it interesting that he's in two different sets of clothes in the two different dreams? One, he's fully covered but in uniform, which many people find very handsome, and in the second dream, not wearing a long skirt that's rolled up to the sleeve. Shall we put it that way?
Yeah, no, that really seemed to have a lot of symbolism to it, because she sees him in so many different ways. She's known him as a friend, she's known him as a Mountie, now knowing him more personally. There's just so many different levels to their relationship, and I think that really just shows kind of her comfort level with him.
Yeah. So my favorite part of this dream, if you know what I'm gonna say, swoop.
Yes. Well, it's the first time we've seen her knees since season 1, so
it's season 2. So,
oh my gosh, I don't know why I said that.
no. Say it again. I can have the same reaction. I'm a very good actress.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me fix my necklace. Okay, here we go. Okay.
Well, it's the first time we've seen her knees since season 2.
Yes. That is exactly what I thought. He picks her up and her legs are right there in front of the camera.
No other show would that be so meaningful.
I feel a tiny bit bad for Lucas right here, because if memory serves me correctly, he is the only one of the 3 who has not picked her up on screen, because it didn't really happen in her life, but he's the only one who has not swept her off her feet, literally, in the show. Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Yeah, because Jack did it when they were in the mine, and did it in the deleted scene of their wedding night. Dang it. And now Nathan just came in and swept her off her feet. And this was the weirdest thing to notice, but she made basically the exact same kind of noise as when Jack picked her up in the mine. And I went, oh man.
Yeah. No, she kind of makes that noise every now and then.
Who's going to mind a Mountie in uniform standing at your door and saying, I'm here to make sure you're all right. And then, ooh, burning up. Yeah, we are. So, on a very serious note, right here, this is something that I noticed with all of these dreams.
Okay.
Her subconscious went to him and only him.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
When you think about it, there was not even a mention of Jack. I wasn't expecting there to be an appearance because there would be, issues with getting the actor, but there was not even a mention. It was all him. There was no Lucas. There were no feelings that might still be lingering. Her subconscious was full of Nathan.
Also, what's interesting is just how prevalent they are on each other's minds because dreams don't have to just be about your romantic feelings. So there's no mention of her son, there's no mention of her friends, there's no like she's clearly only thinking about one thing and he's only thinking about one thing. And so even though there are multiple things on their minds when she's awake, even though she's sick, she's trying to make cupcakes for Allie, she's trying like to do all of these things.
Child,
And
go to bed. Do not make cupcakes when you are sick.
I would want to eat that. I'm sorry.
I don't know how Oliver and Allie did not get sick.
Yet.
Yeah, yet.
Ugh.
No, but you're right. Not only are they the only person for each other romantically, they are very prevalent on each other's minds. I didn't even think about it that way. But yeah, that's exactly what it was. But there's no doubt. There's no whisper or hint of something else. It was all them. And that just shows how deep and abiding and mature this love. And let's be completely honest, it's getting a little bit into the Hallmark After Dark range. It is obvious that these two people are getting very close to taking a next step in their relationship. At least I hope so. But
One would think.
one would think. But when I went live with Suspenders Unbuttoned, they said they want each other. I'm like, yeah, let's say it. They want each other. And then not only are their dreams full of each other, but when she woke up, he was right there.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about comfort in her home. He came in while she was sleeping and sat down. Like that's even I think that's even better than the cooking.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Yes, he came in and sat down while she was sleeping to take care of her. And the second she woke up, he closed the book and put it down.
Attentive. Very attentive.
Very okay. Since we're pretty much on her waking up after the second dream, let me just say this one thing and then we'll go over the second dream. But this was such a small thing. Feels her forehead. You still have a fever. And then I need to find somebody to take care of your class tomorrow. Didn't say we, didn't say you. He said I. I need to do it. And he does it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I mean, the little back rub when he says, you need to go inside. You're coming down with something. And I don't know if I have noticed this before, but he has started a new thing. He puts his hands on her shoulders and
Mhm.
walks behind her or beside her. And I went, oh, I've never seen before.
That's very cute.
So it's a new couple's mannerism
Mhm.
that he's doing, which just shows that Kevin is ever evolving this character and keeps thinking about new ways to show that things are progressing. But yeah, I loved that hands on the shoulder while they're walking. He did it at least twice, if not more. And
Mhm.
I thought it was so precious. I thought it was so precious. Okay, and so now we better talk about dream number two. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this.
Getting hot in there.
Little, I'm using my bright spotlight. Maybe I need to turn it off. It's an inside joke that Aaron's co-stars chop wood at some point. And this was one that she had not seen him chop wood because the last time he did it, she was out of town. And so this is her seeing him chop wood in all of his muscular glory. And I don't know what was funnier about the dream, the water and the Superman curl, or the fact that he said something so simple and it was said in such a, if you'll pardon me, sexy way.
Whatever was the line, Cami, I'm sure you've written it down.
Know what you mean? You want some help with that? And then he leans in to kiss her. Okay, okay, I have to show you.
Fever dream, help me.
And then, of course, she says, can we go riding tomorrow? When she wakes up, I'm like, oh dear. I forgot to mention this, but with the first dream, you know, she appears at the door in her nightgown, and
That was scandalous.
it was very scandalous. Kevin had such a good reaction because his eyes darted down, but he didn't make a big deal about it. And I love that just for a second, you can see that he's been a dad to Allie because he checks like, oh, you've got a fever. You know, he's used to doing that. And
Yeah.
so then he puts the hands on the shoulders, walks her back to the couch, and did you notice that they have one of his famous lines right there? And she says, thank you for being here for me. And what does he say?
Always.
That's become his thing. That's his may I. Jack was
Mhm.
may I.
Yeah.
Always is Nathan's tagline. Shall we go to his fever dream? So this one was interesting because when he comes down the stairs, I didn't think it was a dream, but then I started hearing the sound effects. And
Uh-huh.
you hear Elizabeth go, Nathan, like, oh, this is a dream. And then I thought, wait a sec. This isn't her dream because it's from his point of view. And then I went, oh no, he's sick.
I know. It was done in such a way to really like surprise you.
Yeah, it really was. Tell me your impressions of Nathan's dream.
again, I just think it for me, it just kept going back to the comfort level that they have with each other. It wasn't so much, there wasn't anything scandalous really for a dream. Could have
Yeah.
gone a lot further. Uh, but
This
just
is Hallmark.
it is Hallmark, but even still, like if you're dreaming something, you can have things with no limits. And I don't mean that necessarily in that way, but in any way, like you could have had all these like fireworks and like big things that aren't real in Hope Valley,
Right.
or that just aren't necessarily practical on the set, but that would have cost a lot of money to film, to have
Right.
special effects and everything going on. But like in a dream, things are crazy and wacky and they don't always appear normal. And so to me, the fact that it was very normal and it was very just down home and comfortable with each other, but still pushing the envelope just a little bit because it's obviously something that they want to see progressing at some point.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people got Pearl Harbor vibes,
Mm, mhm.
but I kind of got Greatest Showman vibes when the two of them are first married and they move into their teeny tiny apartment. They go up to the roof and they're running and dancing between the sheets. And so that's
Mhm.
kind of the idea I got. But what I can't get over is the sheer joy on both of their faces.
Yeah, yeah. No, he just even even not in the dreams, I would say this whole episode, Nathan just seemed so relaxed in their relationship and so at ease
Mhm.
with where they were in their relationship.
Yeah.
Like just that comfort level. And I think taking care of somebody when they're sick, when they don't feel good, I mean that just it's not a dramatic step in a relationship, but in other ways it is because
Yeah.
it's like I'm their person. I'm the
Mhm.
person that's taking care of them. And to both the person who's sick being taken care of and the caregiver, it's that symbolic connection of like we're each other's person. That's
Yeah.
just what we do. And like you said and brought attention to that line of I need to find someone to cover your classes.
Mhm.
Like it is so simple and yet so meaningful at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And the playfulness in the dream, it just, because we've seen them playful, but that took it to the next level. Where are you? And then there you are. And his smile got brighter when he actually found her, because he was smiling, enjoying the game. And then he sees her, and there you are. And a lot of people I've heard have said that with the sheet blowing over their heads, that it looked a little bit like a wedding veil. But I just thought it was kind of funny, that it
Yeah.
was blowing in their face, but they didn't seem to care. I wonder how Kevin and Aaron shot that scene without cracking up, and how many takes did it take.
Right.
Well, and she said another Nathan tagline: there's nowhere else I'd rather be. He has usually said that, and now she's saying it to him, which he's got to love hearing, even if it is just in a dream.
That's actually super symbolic though, because if it's something he says all the time, that makes sense that it would be in his subconscious
Yeah.
and hear her say it.
Yeah. Then, okay, did you see it? Elizabeth totally kissed Nathan's neck. Woo! Hashtag Chasely Hot.
There it is. There it is. Well, so we know what he's thinking about.
Uh-huh. Yeah. We see that when he is licked awake. You know, I have seen a few movies and TV shows where they think it's their significant other when it's really an animal, when they're asleep or half asleep or dreaming, and a gag that never gets old.
It doesn't. It doesn't, and several do come to mind, but I will say this one was more enjoyable to watch than, say, Beethoven.
More enjoyable.
Yeah.
Probably because we got a lot more time of the dream and less time of the animal. Okay, I do, before we leave them, you talked about the comfort level. I want to talk about their conversation when she has eaten the chicken soup and they start talking about the boys. He automatically pours her tea after feeding her the soup, and they start talking about Wyatt, which I really did like the way they did this because from what we saw and even what Nathan says, I thought you two talked about that. You don't get over a heartbreak with one conversation. And I just thought that that was really realistic and a really smart move on.
And shocking that someone in Nathan's position wouldn't immediately understand that, seeing as how the last several seasons have played out. Childhood crushes are not easier to get over, like, I mean, like perhaps bringing in her age to say, well, she's going to take just as long as you took. Come on now. It seemed like an odd comment from him. If it had been more geared towards her age, like I didn't realize that she had such serious feelings.
Well, and I think that's the big thing.
I think that's what it was, but
Yeah.
just the way he phrased it, I'm like, yeah, it's not like it might take years. You might not contemplate moving cities, changing jobs, so you don't see the person ever again. I just like he seems like he has a little bit of a blind spot with this issue.
Well, of course, because she's his now. So he's not thinking about that anymore. It's all been blocked out. Once again, the comfort level. I can't believe anyone would choose birds over you. And then Elizabeth, despite being drunk with cough medicine, she got some soup in her. So that,
she's a little bit more clear-headed now.
So she was a little bit more clear-headed, and she gets a little profound. I've learned that love isn't about imagining who you want someone to be. It's about knowing who they really are, letting them know you. And then he goes right into it. Well, I am happy to know you, Elizabeth Thornton. I'm glad to know you too, Nathan Grant. And then, so what about you? Who broke your heart? And here's the ultimate comfort level besides you.
I think that's only because she basically just reminded him. Like she's like, you don't get over this right away. Remember?
But how casually did he say that?
Yeah.
It doesn't still sting.
Yeah.
And then, ooh, all of a sudden that bird breakup doesn't seem so bad. Okay, this took me some time to understand, because I couldn't understand Elizabeth with,
Yeah, because she was plugged up.
and my children were talking to me. So I couldn't understand everything she was saying, and then I couldn't hear it because they were talking to me when I was watching. So I had to watch it again. Oh, darn.
No.
No, there was one that was far worse, but fortunately, it seems to have worked out. And then Nathan's little knowing smile right there. So I thought that she was talking about another story, like Jack breaking her heart when he died or something like that. But then I realized, okay, no, they're still talking about them. She's saying that the breakup between her and Nathan was worse than Bird Boy.
Well, not really breakup. I wouldn't ever call it a breakup, but they weren't,
Rejection.
yeah, they weren't together. But
Yeah, but that was as bad as a breakup.
no, as bad as. But yes, I think that was the confusion. That's why my brain initially thought she was talking about somebody else as well until she said the final line. And then you're like, oh, okay, that, yeah, she's referencing Nathan.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's no sting. There's no leftover bitterness. He's fine saying that. It reminds me of when Will and I ran into my ex-boyfriend at a wedding, and we were in a group of people, and one of them was asking how Will and I met. We were engaged at the time, and and my ex-boyfriend is standing in this group of people that we're talking to, and so I am trying to beat around the bush and be very tactful about how I'm saying this, and he says she was waiting for him. I nearly spit out my lemonade. It's like, thanks, honey. At least Nathan did that in private.
And also, it's like, I liked that she didn't really, there was no dwelling on the stuff with Lucas because that really brings into perspective that even though that was probably emotionally really difficult, it wasn't the same type of feeling as when you're broken up with and you, like, she knows that that wasn't the right connection. It was hard to come to that realization and to get through those steps to get to where you needed to be, but she also knew it was the right thing. And so it wasn't the same kind of like trauma where you're missing the person or wishing it had worked out because
Yeah.
you know it's the right decision. And so it would be a very different thing than, say, the situation with Allie, where here Allie's wondering what's next for her.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, I really, even though it wasn't said, I really do think that Nathan thinks that because of her age, it's not as big of a deal. You know, he wanted to marry this woman and she broke his heart. And so he was crushed. And it can't be the same exact thing, but
Sure,
it's, and it's,
stakes are higher.
yeah, stakes are higher with him, and so he probably thinks it's not as big of a deal. But we know teenagers, everything is life or death until a week later.
Or 5 minutes.
Or 5 minutes. Okay, let's go to those two teenagers because they were cute.
Oh my.
I know you're waiting for me to say this, so I'll just spare you asking. You were right.
I would say I was 100% right.
You were 100% right. You were dead on, hit the nail on the head, no room for improvement, right.
I pretty much called it all. The most dead on I have been about anything, I think. So for anybody who's not following along yet, weeks ago, when we first met Oliver, my very initial response was, his mom's in jail.
That was your second response. Thank you.
Okay.
Something going on with his mom is what you've
Well,
said.
okay, so that's what I said first, but that was like to set up the theory about her being in jail. The thing for me was always the connection. And what's interesting, I didn't even think of the connection to Allie at the time because I didn't know we were setting up a potential relationship with them. But I was thinking of the connection to Nathan because Hargraves thought they would be a good match for each other. And so now I'm wondering if Hargraves knows about his mom and if that's maybe why he's got it out for him a little bit. But knowing that Nathan's father had a criminal past, it really, and the hilarious thing is when you're thinking about the fact that Nathan's father had a criminal past, I'm surprised that didn't come up in the episode where Allie was going to see Dylan, because there's just such a connection there between having a father who has made bad choices. And it's odd that that didn't kind of come into play with Nathan talking to Allie, but at the same time, it definitely is setting up for a very rich connection between Allie and Oliver.
Well, and speaking of that connection, Allie did a lot of sharing in this episode, especially there at the end. But I was a little interested in the fact that Oliver didn't already know all of this stuff. I mean, I figured that he would know by now that Allie is Nathan's biological niece and his adopted
that
daughter.
Part could have come up.
And I figured that would bring into conversation that her father's in prison.
I could see him not knowing all of it, but yes, it is interesting that he didn't know she was adopted. They haven't hung out too often.
No, that's true, but Nathan and Oliver have. And and when he met her, he said, "I didn't know he had a family." And remember, I thought that was going to cause some awkwardness of some kind, which that didn't pan out, darn it. But anyway, I would have figured that Oliver would have asked about, "Hey, I met your daughter today. I didn't know you had a family, and she's my niece. I adopted her." But way to get on Allie's good side, Oliver. Look how smart you are. I mean, we were talking about his intelligence, and he's proving it by leaps and bounds.
Both of them. I mean, Allie is really bright to be doing all of this research and bringing all this information together, making maps, doing all of these things, and then presenting them in a very professional, mature way, respectfully, but still advocating.
Yeah, and it really got Lucas thinking, and I was really proud of him for that. He was taking it seriously. Okay, those two riders dragging the branches behind them, know that one or both of the kids are going to recognize that rider because of his boots. What is going on with the cattle? Because this is getting dicey.
Well, because initially you're just like, oh, okay, now they're trying to share the land. And so now this is happening. But obviously there's more to it than that.
I'll admit, Allie started getting Rosemary's sparkle word, dramatic. Nathan says, "How was the walk?" "Terrible. The salmon aren't spawning, and the wolves won't have any food, and the bears won't have any food, and it's all one big disaster." I thought that she was getting a little dramatic over that.
Hormones. Yeah.
Hormones. Hormones and heartbreak.
Yep. It's a deadly combination.
It really is. Oh, gosh. When you take away all the drama, that can be a very bad thing, especially for a national park. You know, if that land is going to be used as a national park and the cattle crossing is causing that much of a disruption, and then there is something that is being covered up literally with the branches being dragged to cover up prints of some kind. So something is being covered up literally and metaphorically. There's there's a
Well,
lot to wonder about here.
well, the other piece to this is, didn't Edie say that the land sharing had already been happening? This wasn't new information. This wasn't something that just began. It
Mm.
had been happening for years, and she was worried that making the land a national park would then revoke the sharing of the land, and that then they would have to change what they were doing with their cattle. So, in theory, just the general shared use and having the cattle, come and use that pasture land, that is not what is having this effect on the salmon. That's what we think it is. But if it's been happening for years, this would have been an issue before.
That's a good point, Hawkeye.
I'll have one per episode.
Oh,
I gotta actually take that back. I can be right twice in an episode because I was in this one.
and I would also like to mention who texted you and told you that you were right twice in the same episode.
You did. You
Thank you.
did. I did have to kind of stop and think because I had predicted a lot of different things. And so I was like, I wonder which two things were right.
I wasn't about to give her any spoilers because she hadn't watched yet. But
No.
we are, of course, talking about the Canfields. She was spot on that Joseph had sent away for the pamphlets, which I am so proud of him for doing. And
Yeah.
he even requested a tour, which is that's going. It's one thing to request pamphlets. It's a whole nother ball game to request a tour that involves travel and convincing of the wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a very big, bold move on Joseph's part, but it really and truly shows that he is trying to understand his daughter.
And he was still extremely respectful of Minnie's feelings
Oh,
and her
completely.
reservations, and never once said, we have to do this. This has to happen. It was all an explanation. This is why I feel this way. This is what we could explore.
And he never once said, "Stop it. You're
Yeah.
being unreasonable."
In a situation like this, it's tough because they both have their personal feelings on it, but then they're also both trying to do what's right for Angela.
Mhm.
And that does present conflicting feelings. There are, even if Minnie wanted to do this, it would still be an incredibly difficult decision for any parent, let alone a parent of a child that has, something different that does cause you to have concern for their ability to take care of themselves without you right there. But even without that, having your child move to a different city where you're not there would still be tremendously scary.
Oh, it would be
So,
terrifying.
so it would still be the same exact feelings, and you would still have all of that to discuss and to come to terms with regardless. So there, it was a very respectful communication, and both of them were able to share their feelings with each other and, come I think come to the decision that they will go on the tour and discuss it from there.
I agree. And Minnie did a very good job of calming down before she lost her temper because you could
Mm-hmm.
tell that she wanted to.
Why are we getting this in the mail? How did this get here?
There's somebody else who wants something in Hope Valley, atypical for her. I was glad that we got out of her, I know what I want, I just don't know how to get there. So at least we got that much. She feels trapped because she is on one side of a very, very big fence. And over there, way on the other side, is what she wants. And she can't climb over it the way she usually would. Just scale that baby. There's a gate, but it's locked. And one thing, at least in her mind, has the key. What are our thoughts on that?
We are, of course, talking about Fiona, and she's a character who's been on the show for a long time, actually.
Since
She's
season 6.
It's a newer character. It feels like a newer character, but when you look at it, she's been on the show basically half of the series. She has always, from day one, been a character who thinks outside the box, does things her way, has an extremely independent flair about her, does not care
Bold choices.
exactly, does not care what other people think, goes for what is right for her. And that's why, like you said, this feels very atypical for her, because it is very clear that what she is contemplating as her next path in life is not what she truly wants, but it is a path to get to a place where she can do what she thinks is her calling in life. And yes, in life you have to have sacrifices. I love that conversation that she was having with Joseph. You do have to have sacrifices in life, but you shouldn't sacrifice like who you are.
Do you think that she picked up Ava because she almost saw herself in Ava? I mean, Ava's trying to be like every other woman in town, so let's add Fiona in there too.
I don't really think there's a big connection there. I just think that I think somebody like Fiona would have picked anybody up who was appearing to be in distress and needed a lift. I think that really wouldn't have mattered much of how that person was presenting themselves, as long as they seemed safe. Um, but I think that she is at that crossroads, and she is not sure. Like I said, the thing about the sacrifice is what really, really kept resonating with me, because so many times these days you hear people like, oh, that's, oh, you shouldn't have to sacrifice for what you want in life. And a lot of people are kind of taking too staunch, I think, an approach on that, to where, life isn't easy. Everything's not going to be perfect. No relationship is perfect. You do have to give and take. You do have to compromise. You do, like, that is just normal. Nothing in life is going to be handed to you on a silver platter and have everything, you know, sunshine and roses, 100% of the time. You do have to, and to have a successful relationship, it's not all about you. It's about both of you. So you do have to make sacrifices. However, you know who you are. You know who, what your values are, what your beliefs are, what you value in life, and that should not be compromised. So there's a big difference. And so this doesn't seem like the right path for her, not because you shouldn't get married, or you shouldn't, have that type of life that this person is offering her, but because she's not currently in love with this guy. She is not showing any signs of wanting to actually be married. but it's tough because they're kind of beating around the bush a little bit about what it is she wants. We know she wants to make a difference, like with activism and things, but we don't know specifically. So it's hard for us to speculate what are the other ways she could get there.
I want to know your opinion right now, right off the top of your head. Do you think she'll go through with it? Yes or no?
I doubt it on this show, but
Okay.
I also know that Kayla Wallace isn't, 100% available to be filming all the time. Probably isn't in the whole rest of the season, and it'll be interesting to see how they write this one. But it doesn't really feel hallmarky. It doesn't really feel When Calls the Heart, Hope Valley like to have her go against
Her
her
heart?
her heart, her personality, her gumption of, just everything about her.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense that that would happen, but they also might leave it open and make us think that's what's happening, and then we find out later there was a change. Um, it might
That
it
would be an
might
interesting cliffhanger for the end of the season.
it could be a cliffhanger for the end of the season. It also could just be that she leaves mid-season to go get married, and then we don't see her for a few episodes, and that's their way of just keeping her schedule loose enough to be on both shows. And then she reappears and says she didn't go through with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how all of this pans out. By the way, that passenger that she picked up, well, I think it is 100% certain that she's a liar.
About something. I mean, at the very least, she was traveling with a man and has not shared that information yet.
Or
But
that's not hers
that
at
is
all, and it's completely somebody else's trunk.
Yeah, the fact that it was found in the lost and found from where she was coming from clearly tells me she saw it in the lost and found before making her way, and just had that in her brain as what to say she was missing.
Or did Nathan set her up? We found your trunk, the green one with brass buttons. It's locked, but blah, 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 blah.
I mean, I love it, but that's a big trick to play. Like, you have
Well,
to then find what she described somewhere and then fill it with stuff.
but see, that's the thing. If he set it up and then she had just come clean and said, "Oh, this isn't mine," he would have been fine. But I think he set her up, and I think Lee is in on it.
Whoa, that could be interesting.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so when I first watched it, but the girls at Suspenders on Buttons, they said, "I think he's in on it." And I watched it again and I studied Lee's face when he said, "Oh, you'll be relieved to be wearing your fancy duds again." And I looked at him and he had this knowing hint of a smile and I went, "Oh yeah, he knows. He knows."
Maybe. Okay, well,
Nathan asked for his help and he knows.
we will see, and I will bow down to you if you get this one. If you get this one.
I would love to say it was my idea, but it wasn't. Okay, but here is something that I am having trouble understanding, and I don't mind saying this one bit. Georgie and Bill, their
Mhm.
relationship, 100% clear. Totally clear on that. The way that they were describing the case,
Mhm.
the way that they were describing the mission, the way they were describing the missing gold coins and throwing the different names in there, Toddy Davis, Teddy Davis. I was like, what is going on here? I had a lot of trouble understanding what they were talking about when they were talking about the case. They moved into their personal lives and I was fine. You know, I mean, I was completely on board and on track with what they were saying. But anytime they brought up the mystery and when they were questioning Sunny, which I love that they used the same actor.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him since season 3, and there he is. I just, oh, I love it. I love it. But I had no idea what was going on.
Number one.
Sorry.
You have to warn me when we're going into mystery mode.
My bad.
Number two. The way I caught the name change was they I believe were the ones that said Toddy Davis, and he heard Teddy and he started saying Sonny Garrison started saying Teddy, and they picked up on it and then they started saying it because they realized he had misheard it. So I think they picked up on the fact that he did not know the person they were talking about and had misquoted the person's name, acting like he did know who the person was. So they picked up on that he's lying. So they stuck with the name he said so that he wouldn't know that they knew that he was lying. That was the impression I got from the name exchange, because he was the first person to say the wrong name. So I don't think they were trying to trick him. I think they thought he knew Toddy Davis, and when he started saying the wrong name and acting like he did know him, they knew he was lying. So now they know he is lying about that. And so they're trying to keep him on the hook so that they can have him think he's in control.
Okay, that does make sense. It was not making any sense when I was watching it. And I watched it multiple times to try to get it. And I just went,
that was the piece that I picked up on pretty clearly, was that he was the first one, because I saw this little glimmer and exchange of looks from them right when he said it. And then they started saying it wrong. So
okay.
They're catching him in this lie, but they need to carry it out a little bit further to see why he is, because that doesn't mean he's not involved.
Mm-hmm.
It just means he doesn't know Davis.
Okay. That does make more sense. Of course you would get that. Okay, you can take the hat off now.
That's it? That's all I got?
That's all you got.
I get to wear this almost the whole next episode though, right?
Yes, you do.
We're going to be big on mystery next week.
Which I am so excited for it. Oh my gosh. But,
all right, fine. I'll take the hat off, but I'm wearing it a lot next week.
Okay. Did you get a huge thrill out of seeing Jack Wagner and Melissa Gilbert acting together?
I mean, it was pretty cool.
I know that you didn't grow up.
I'm not the same level of Little House fan that you are, but I still think she's pretty awesome.
Well, and I don't know if you know this, but Laura in the show of Little House on the Prairie is obsessed with fishing. And so just like Bill tries out golf clubs every once in a while because Jack is an actual golfer, when Georgie said that she used to have a place around Hope Valley, and Bill said, "You used to enjoy fishing," and she said, "Still do," I went, it's a callback.
Little Easter egg.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the biggest reveal that shocked the heck out of me. It doesn't appear that Nora and Henry were Martin's parents. I tried to watch it with closed captioning, but Philo on my television is terrible with closed captioning, and so I couldn't get a good read on it. But it sounded like a carnival worker or something like that.
I mean, unless that's the twist later, is that Henry was a carnival worker at one time, which would be a great twist.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have that twist at some point, for just amusement. But it does seem like this is the first confirmation we are getting 100% that it was not Henry. And I mean, I was leaning away from that theory just a little bit, because I felt like over the years, as Henry became so much stronger and so much more a part of the community, and he and Bill didn't have this like hate for each other anymore, I felt like something would have come up, like that there would have maybe been more talk into that had that been the case. Because if he was Martin's father, I don't know that he knew he was Martin's father. And I just feel like, especially, okay, now Gowan has a son, and he's getting married, and maybe they'll have kids and he'll be a grandpa, and like and now he's working with kids, and like just all of those facts kind of adding up, and how he kind of did regret kind of not having more of a family and not doing more things in his personal life. I just felt like we would have maybe gotten more confirmation on that at some point.
Okay, fair enough.
Again, not discounting that it was possible, but just like I just kept feeling like, okay, it's not high on my theory list anymore.
Well, the other thing is the guy was nowhere to be found, is what Bill said. So he didn't just refuse to marry her or anything like that. The guy ran off and was nowhere to be found, which kind of makes me wonder again if it's not Henry, because Henry always seemed to be around. There was always bad blood between him and Bill.
Right.
So the history between Georgie and Bill. Here's a phrase that came up when I went live with the SU girls: broken hearts all over Canada. that was something that somebody commented, and it made me laugh so hard. Bill's just leaving broken hearts all over Canada.
I mean, kind of, especially when you think about him being the James Bond of Hope Valley.
It fits the bill.
Bill, yes.
So they knew they liked each other. Bill hid it because Georgie said, all of the other guys couldn't get past the fact that I was a woman and you never even noticed. Baloney, but so it appears that they did like each other and they knew that there was an attraction, but I don't think they knew how deep, because she said, it seems we both played it a little close to the vest. So I'm betting that on their off time, there was some flirting going on, but because he obviously did not know how deeply she felt, because he said, if I had known that we, so this is, I'm wondering if we're going to get more information, because we just keep on hearing all of these beginnings of stories. And I'm just wondering, are we going to get the ends of these stories as the season goes on?
Right?
Oh man.
Oh, well, I mean, it sounds as if she's only in one more episode this season.
It was long overdue for Little House on the Prairie and When Calls the Heart to have a crossover.
Lovely, lovely connection, especially with Michael Landon Jr. So that was
Yeah.
quite awesome. And I've heard she hopes to be back if there is another season. So
Which source are you getting that from? Because don't play with my emotions.
I swear it was a quote from her. But I don't know where I mean, I read it online somewhere, but I thought it was an interview with her.
Okay. Well, Hearties, I think that you will agree that there were many aspects of this episode that were chastely hot.
I actually thought you were going to say it a lot more than you got to. So
I restrained myself.
very good. Very nice.
But we had Georgie and Bill, who are old sweethearts, and the tension was thick. The tension was thick between them. Then
Yes.
you have the innocent blossoming that puts Chastely Hot in a whole new light, because they're so cute and they're too young to be hot. So,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
and then of course you have the
The perfect candidates for hot.
we hope that you have enjoyed this episode on this wonderful Valentine's Day, or whenever you happen to be listening to it. But we hope that you have a marvelous Valentine's Day. We hope that you feel the love all around you and that you feel valued and that it is a great day to be alive. Bye, Hearties.
Bye.